You are back in Seattle, Dr. Pat. Woohoo!
Yeah, just enjoying the rain.
Well, for all the listeners, Dr. Pat's based out of Seattle, but she had to go to New Jersey. And then with between COVID and the adverse weather, she had been, I don't want to say trapped in New Jersey, but let's say delayed in New Jersey. And so it's great to have her back in Seattle. And, Dr. Pat, this year, the theme of our shows is 2022. It's all about you. And tonight we have a really, really great guest to kick off the 2022. It's all about you theme for this year.
Because that's our network theme. Every year we come up with what's the vibe? What are we doing? And we come up some borderline cheesy, like really corny stuff sometimes, right? But this one, it was for Transformation Network. It was 2022. It's all about you, the new you and the renewed you. And our commitment to everybody out there on all of our channels to make sure we are bringing the people, like today, our fabulous guest, amazing, who's going to be able to help. And if you're thinking, I cannot knock the dust, or in the vernacular of crust busting, the crust off my sad self today, we're going to get you some help.
Yes, we are. And today's guest is a good friend of the show. We've had her on a couple times before, Jana Short. And Jana Short is a Renaissance woman. I mean, she is involved in so many different amazing and positive things. Jana is a global influencer in the health and wellness industry. She's the best-selling author of a number of books, including Oh My Health, There Is Hope, which is also the title of her hit podcast. And I understand Jana was recording several episodes today. And she's also the founder and editor-in-chief of Best Holistic Life magazine. And she was just featured on the cover of LA Entrepreneurs magazine. And the story was changing the world one expert at a time. So welcome back to the Psychic and the Doc, Jana Short.
Yeah, boy.
Thank you. I have so much fun here, and I just love the intro. We're all rocking out to
it. We are. And Jana, first, I want to talk a little bit about Best Holistic Life magazine. And it has just exploded over like the last year. Tell us about it. What's going on?
So Best Holistic Life magazine started out as a passion project for me. When someone asked me to do a newsletter, I'm like, I'm kind of busy. I don't have time to do a newsletter. But then I realized I come in contact every day with people like yourself, like you and Dr. Pat, that are geniuses in their zone, right? They're sharing for the right reasons and they're really educating and opening the doors for people. And so I started reaching out to these people saying, hey, you want to fill up my newsletter? And it was so much amazingness that I was getting that I had so much of it. I put it in a magazine and I started with a seasonal magazine for a year. Last year, we added 3 issues. And this year, we're releasing every single month to over 500,000 subscribers. Like, wow, if that happened from me being lazy.
Wow. I mean, from a newsletter to a monthly magazine and from what I've been reading, the projections on Best Holistic Life is that it's going to have well over 1 million subscribers by the end of 2022. And honestly, Jana, the way it's going, it looks like it's going to be even, I think, sooner than that. So the Best Holistic Life magazine, Dr. Pat and I co-authored an article, I believe it was last May. We did like a Mother's Day inspirational story. And it was really fun. I mean, it's always fun working with the both of you. But tell us, what is the content? What are the type of things that subscribers, that readers get out of Best Holistic Life?
So when people ask me what holistic means to me, I tell them it means everything. It's not one magic pill. It's not your nutrition. It's not your exercise routine. It's not your spirituality. It's everything combined, right? Those little changes in everything. So Best Holistic Life pulls together articles from leaders, from major influencers, from doctors and scientists, and even lawyers that are psychics. And they fill it with articles in their beautiful zone of genius. And they share with you. They share solutions. They walk you through a journey of a problem and we know what helped them. One of the things we do not ever allow in our magazine is any types of diagnosis or curative claims, because it goes out to the masses. And even though like someone says, don't smoke, it could cause cancer, I won't let them say that in my magazine, because one person may say it like, oh, well, it didn't cause cancer for me. My grandfather lived till he was 99. Well, that is unusual, but I guess it could happen. So we don't allow any kind of curative claims or diagnoses, but we're teaching on everything like spirituality. We're teaching on nutrition. Dr. D, who's my daughter, writes for us, and she's all about hormonal, using medicine to treat your hormone problems or issues. And so we get lots of amazing stuff, recipes, our favorite books, which was one of yours. I have, by the way, read 3 times, and every time I find something new in it.
Thank you.
But it's been an amazing journey finding these beautiful people to come in and fill our book.
That's awesome. And what I like about Best Holistic Life, normally when you see a publication, a magazine of this genre, it may be targeted to one segment of the population, but this one appears to have a very broad-based. I mean, in other words, I'm a man and I write for it. And when I read through the other articles, I find a lot of articles that appeal to men as well. And what I'm finding is that guys, we're finally kind of getting the memo that we need to take care of ourselves physically, spiritually, and emotionally. So I'm glad to see that there is now a publication out there that does it. And it's not this fluffy thing. It's from people who are experts in their field.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I'll tell you what, not all the men are all in. Okay. My friend said to me, I know what you guys are going to talk about today, but no way am I ever going to the dentist. So everything else we can talk to him about. But you're right. I think we've all come a long way. I mean, even myself, when I did my very first year in 2003, I honestly thought the phrase was hellistic, not holistic, HEL, hellistic. And that my team had to go back in my first year and edit, like, I can't tell you how many episodes. That's where I was back then, right? So have we come a long way, baby? I think we have, because more and more people are looking for solutions that will get at the root of how to create an amazing life, Jana, right? I mean, this is what we're really talking about underneath the depth and the breadth of holistic. is this idea that if you tap into the root, you will be able to create the tree of life that you truly desire. It doesn't matter what it is, right? It could be the money, the cha-ching. It could be the romance that you still think you're never going to have. It could be, OMG, I just have eaten myself to death. It doesn't matter what it is, right? This is why it's called holistic, isn't it?
I agree. I think they should spell it with the W in the front because it literally is whole. Right.
I couldn't agree more, because when people think of holistic as an HOLISTIC, they think of granola, I mean, and I like granola. All right. So for all the people who like granola, I do like granola. I'm not trying, but what I'm saying is, it gives this fringe element type of approach. But in the work that I've done with you, Jana, and with you, Dr. Pat, as well, it's whole, WHOLE, holistic. It's a whole mind, body, spirit, attitude approach. And Jana, you do a lot of work with rapid transformational therapy, RTT. Now, a lot of our listeners may not be familiar with that. What is rapid transformational therapy?
It's a hypnosis technique that we use to help you rapidly find the root cause of what's causing you to not move forward or holding you back, and to go in there and recognize it and understand that most likely you develop that cause as a young child. Like most of us develop these before the age of 5, and it's a conversation we've overheard or something we were told as a child that as a child you have no control over, right? And it seems like this big thing. And when you get older, it's not so much, but in our brains, it stays that way and it's holding us back. So for instance, I was told I had a money block. I was like, nope, I take money. I have money. I do not block it. But then it was brought to me that I was told by my mom when I wanted to go to college. She told me that there was, don't be careful when you go to college. If you are smarter than your husband, they don't feel very manly, and you take away from their masculinity and you'll have a horrible relationship. Exactly. Or if I'm too smart or I make more money than my spouse, they will not be comfortable in that relationship. And so that stayed with me. And my husband has assured me, honey, you go make all the money you want. You be as smart as you want. I'm not going anywhere. But I held that, right? And my mom did not say that to be cruel or to be mean or to put something in my head that blocked me. She said it because that was her generation. That was what they thought the perfect life was for a girl, right? A woman, not to be educated, to be home, taking care of their family, not to make too much money.
All right, Dr. Pat, I got to hear your reaction on that one.
Look, I grew up with the dad that used to tell jokes about it. I mean, he used to walk around, girls, I'm so poor, I can't pay attention. And we were like young kids and we're like, what the heck does that even mean? And it was a little play on words. But you're right about this. I mean, I was talking with one of our new hosts today. She's got a fabulous podcast, television thing she's bringing. And we were talking about, and this is what she talks about, unconscious systems.
Yeah.
There's a whole system that operates and it gets in our psyche. And money for women has always been that little nudge that we know intuitively we want to go forward and make money. And then we hear the voice that says, honey, not in your lifetime. Right? May not say it like that, right, Jana? But it's kind of like along those lines. We're on a mission. You're on a mission. Mark's on a mission. I'm on a mission. Because I think sometimes we realize we have to help people. Yeah. First, realize they're carrying that. Kudos for you for picking that up. But then what to do about it? Because isn't that really what you do as well? It's not just about, let me tell you about this thing you got going on. It's like a giant wart on your face that everybody sees but you. But then don't you help people take it to the next level of, now let me give you a couple of ideas what to do.
Yeah, Dr. Pat, I think that you would agree with me that every single thing that we're doing in our life, whatever's holding us back, whatever's driving us forward, whatever's possible for us is between these beautiful ears of ours, right? Everything starts there. And when you create that roadmap or you tell your brain, this is where we're going, it has to get on board. It's not going to like pull back and say, nope, we're going here. But you get those little voices that were planted seeds from years ago, somebody else's baggage put into your brain. And you hear that little voice saying, for instance, my mom always taught me to be careful what you speak. You get the words of your mouth. She used to always say to me, careful what you say, you get the words of your mouth. She never took it a step further. So if she said, I said, I'm going to get an F, I think, in math. And she's like, careful what you say. I would go out the door and say, you're right, I'm getting an A. But the minute I crossed that threshold, I'd say to myself in my brain, what are you, nuts? You didn't even study. You're not getting it. But my mouth didn't say it. So I learned like there's more than just what comes out of our mouth. It's that voice in our head. I just wrote an article for the magazine and it was all about the voices in our head. Like, how do we clean up the mouth talk in our head and start talking better to ourselves and stopping it? Like, that's not true. I'm getting an A. I'm going to get so stinking close. I might even pass an A. I'm getting the new A.
Oh my gosh. You're so right. I had a bet with one of my friends, right? Growing up, we had to get ready for a competition. Like we play a little sport with the little white ball. So we're getting ready. So we had a bet. We had to take off a few pounds and build up some muscle. So I'm running 3 miles a day. I'm doing like crazy things. I'm like with the weights and I got a trainer. I lose the bet. And I looked at her and I said, okay, what did you do? She said, well, I read an article. This is like a really true story. She lost 30 pounds. I don't know how, but I think it's exactly what you said. She said, I read an article that pizza with cheese is 20 calories per slice. And I said,
Dr. Pat, I read the same article.
but this is go to your point though, Jana. I said, you got to show me the article. I'm Italian, I know. And I read the article and she and I are learning different. I said, are you serious? That says 200 calories. She ate pizza for a month, 3 slices a day, 20 pounds, 20 calories per slice. And she dropped 15 pounds. And I got to tell you, there isn't a dietitian on the planet that will come into this show right now and say that can't be true. But she, in her mind, every time she ate the pizza, she's like, I'm losing the weight. And please, you all listening to this, don't go off now and be doing this. She believed it in every cell of her body. Isn't that what we're talking about here, Jana? Isn't that what you're talking about?
100%. If someone tells me they want to lose weight, should I do keto? Should I do plant-based? Should I do this? Should I do that? I'm like, yeah, which one will work for me? All of them. If your mind is set right? No matter what, when your mind's in the right space, anything's going to work for you. Eating 20 calorie slice of pizza will work for you.
I remember when, right before I took the bar exam, there's these prep courses, to teach you how to take these tests. And the funny thing about the bar exam, it has nothing to do with the practice of law. It just means that you can take an incredibly complicated and grueling test. And this one professor said, let me guess, most of you have just started an exercise program. You've stopped drinking. You've stopped smoking. You've cut out candy. He goes, for God's sakes, it's the bar exam. Eat more, drink more, smoke more. He goes, get through it. And it was so funny because I had been doing this. I was swimming, 50 laps every day and running. And what he said was, just focus on what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I passed and I was very, very pleased. But so many people, we think that we have to have all these little secret formulas to do this. And Jana, it's exactly what you and what Dr. Pat are saying is the problem is that voice in our head. In my circles, in the psychic circles, we call it the ego. Okay, which is what you're calling it or what we're discussing. And the ego always says you're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're not talented enough. You can't do it. And the ego always tempts you with the promise of something you already possess. And I'm really glad to see that you're doing this work to get that voice turned off.
Even not turned off, but change its tune. And most of the people that I work with are people who have a lot of money, and they have so much guilt and shame around being so blessed that they put these blocks up and this shame attached to it. Because what are the things we're told? Rich people are criminals, right? Like there's so many things attached to the stigma of money when it's literally an inanimate object. Just pays for your book or your food, right? It's not that, it's not, all those emotions shouldn't be attached to it for sure.
You know, I think a lot of that, it has a religious basis, because so much guilt, you know, a lot of religions use guilt, not a lot of them, they all use guilt and shame. And you commonly hear money is the root of all evil. Okay, we all grew up hearing that. But if you go and actually look at the entire quote, it's the love of money is the root of all evil. Money, like you said, Jana, it's an inanimate object. Intrinsically, it's not bad. What happens is people allow their desire and their love of it to become the master, and they become the servant, when money should be the servant and you're the master. And there's all this shame and guilt. And Jana, let me ask you this. Okay, now we're all professionals here, and everybody that is affiliated with Best Holistic Life, all of the experts and the people that you interview on Oh My Health, There Is Hope, charge money for their services. How many times have you had some of these people relate to you stories where potential clients say, "How dare you charge money?"
All the time, especially in the healthcare. Like I'm in healthcare, holistic life, right? Holistic wellness. And my husband's a veterinarian, and people are always really bashing him like, my dog needs a surgery. I can't afford that. But what they're not doing is looking that they weren't at the door when he was paying for his college, right? They weren't at the door when they're paying. He's got 30 employees. He has like a hospital. So he has x-ray machines and dental suites and all the stuff for your animal that all has a price attached to it for him. And so as much as he loves animals, which he does, that's why he got into the business, or as much as we love our patients or our clients that we're helping, there's a fee to that. And here's the thing, if he gave it away for free, there wouldn't be any value to them for it. There's a reason we pay money for the things that we want or need. Raising my 4 children, they would all the time come to me. It's like, can I have these tennis shoes? They're $200. Absolutely. I'll pay for half. You come up with the other half. Well, I'm not spending my money on that. Well, neither am I. If you want it that badly, you'll come up with half, and I will pay the other half. And my kids learned the value of $1 and working for something. And by the way, halfway through earning that money for something, it was like, I don't want it anymore.
Yeah. I know we're going to go to break in a minute. I really want to talk with you about the pathway that you're carving. And I'll give you my 2 cents on it. Certainly not going to do it the justice that it probably deserves in this short period of time. But the pathway that you're carving is this pathway to broaden our conversations, to give room for honest exchanges in the spirit of learning and knowledge, but to also create positive change. And that's not always, it sounds great when I said it. When people interview me and I say that, it sounds so good. And yet we know that when you use the word carving a pathway, it's more like getting a jackhammer. Because as we walk forward, you run into obstacles every day, challenges, potholes, whatever you want to call them. It doesn't matter what it is. I run into them. But I'd love to know I'd love to know some of the challenges and obstacles that you overcame to bring you right here to this very moment. Because sometimes people think the 3 of us just show up and we magically do a show like this. We don't question ourselves. We don't doubt ourselves. But this is the world we're in today. And I think people want to be inspired. They want to know they can do it. What's been on your radar?
Wow. So for me, I want to create a generational change.
Mm.
I was not that long ago in a position where I was scared and I was desperate to live. And I didn't know this holistic world. I knew medicine. Like my husband, like I said, is a doctor. My daughters were in med school at the time. And I was just begging for a little bit more time so I could create a memory with my grandson, who at the time was only 9 weeks old. And how will he remember me when I'm gone? And I went on that journey and I found terrifying things online, terrifying people who were claiming to be things they weren't, were selling products that were toxic. Here's the thing, though, there's a flip side to that coin. I also, where else can you sit and type in those words, desperate for health answers, holistic options, and extend your reach all around the world while you're laying on your deathbed and find hope? And so what I am trying to do is create hope and create it in more of a generational thing. I want my great grandkids to know that what I'm doing today helped change their world then. And so I'm hoping that I can open the doors for people, start shining a light on those who are real, who are like have real help solutions, are qualified to give those to you so you can find them easier when you're in that state.
Yeah. I had to ask you that question because 6 months after saying yes to this, April 1st of 2004, and honestly, I got to tell you, I dialed the wrong phone number. That's why we're even talking today. And I paid like $13,000 for once a week on an internet network in 2003. But I got really sick. And I know now why that was, because I was ready to walk away from this, number one. But I entered that same world and I was amazed. And something shifted. And I think what you're doing is going to help people shift. Even if it's like a little, I'm not good with measurements. So Mark, I'm probably going to get this wrong. Even it's like a little teeny centimeter of change, right? That's what you're saying. You're saying if there's a way that somebody reads something that you've got in the magazine or hears your show or hears you, they may pick up their phone, they may try to find it, they may look for an option that they didn't have. See, that's what the world needs now. And you are opening that door for so many people.
I hope so. I hope that they have enough hope that they just make it another hour, another day, because that's where I was at, to keep fighting, right? Or to find that right answer. So I really, truly am trying to carve out a message of hope that there is hope. So long as you got air in your lungs, there's hope, right?
Yeah.
And I always tell people my diagnosis didn't change. I'm exactly in the same position I was before. The only difference is now I'm thriving in it, right?
Yeah.
I'm not on a deathbed. My stomach didn't grow back. I still have a hard time getting nutrients into my body, but I'm thriving in that space because of the change between these ears of mine, right?
Yeah. I love what you just said. I will agree that I'm exactly with you about, I'm glad for the breath I'm taking. I will have to make a confession before we go to break though. It used to be, I'm going to be just super so long as I can take that breath. I got a breath of air in my lungs and the Harley Davidson in my garage. Let's take a short break. I'm trying to give up the Harley dream. Let's take a short break. When we come back, Mark's going to take us on a journey along with our very special guest. But Jana, before we go, can you tell people how they can find out about you? Yeah. How do they subscribe to the magazine? All of that.
They can go to bestholisticlife.com. And that's without the W, so bestholisticlife.com. And they can just click free subscription. The magazine is free to you, the digital magazine, and you can get a free subscription. And if you want to know more about me personally, just go to janashort.com.
I love it. And FYI, I have no affiliation with Harley Davidson except that I ride them. Let's take a short break, everybody. When we come back, we got to get Mark on a Harley. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back, everybody. Oh boy, welcome back. Fired up now. Mark,
yes.
Bring us back. Come on.
Well, we are here with Jana Short, who is the founder and editor-in-chief of Best Holistic Life magazine, and she is changing the world one expert at a time. And Jana, we were talking earlier about RRT, therapy, and you said about removing blocks.
Yeah.
Now, in your work doing this form of is it RTT, rapid transition? Hold on.
Rapid transformational therapy.
Rapid transformation. I should know. Here we are on the Transformation Network. I was getting my rapid transformational therapy. Now, you brought up a very interesting thing. You said that a lot of times, or is it pretty much the majority of the time, the blocks, the self-doubt, that nagging ego voice that says you can't do it, occurred when somebody was basically under the age of 5.
Yes, usually the ones that really stick with us, that are holding us back, that we're not aware of, were created in our minds when we were very young. And we see them as a child, right? I mean, do you remember when you first saw Santa Claus and you were terrified to sit on his lap, and he was big and red and he was ho-ho-hoing, and you see all the pictures where the moms forcing their kids on the lap, taking pictures, and the kids are screaming, right? And so I bet there's a little bit of an aversion for Santa in all of us.
Well, yeah. I mean, all year we tell our children, don't talk to strangers. And then they thrust them into this, I mean, especially a 2 or 3-year-old that doesn't really understand. By the time they're 5, they realize, okay, if I'm nice to this guy, I get stuff, So maybe that helps get through the block on the money. But no, go ahead.
So definitely it's different in our brains now. Like, it's buried in there, something we heard as a child that was bigger than it was, or it was for an adult and not for a child, or it literally, I call it their baggage. So when people put that on me, I'm like, that's your baggage. Let's work on that. Like, I've got enough in my head. Don't need to carry yours. Yeah. But definitely I call it baggage of stuff we carry around from things. It could even be a conversation. If your parents are fighting over money all the time, you're probably going to have a money block, right? Because to you, that means discord, that's arguments, that's things that, you don't want to be a part of. So there's lots of things that happen to us when we're young, and overhearing these beautiful conversations that our parents are having, our grandparents or the neighbors, that we start carrying on as our baggage.
So when you identify the problem, how do you proceed from there? How, because, I know that you're a mindset coach and this is all tied into it, because, this is really fascinating. A lot of people feel that they're not worthy of the success, and this is where it stems from. So identifying the problem's a huge step, but what steps do you lead them through to eliminate that block, or are you allowed to talk about it on air?
No, we can. It's totally different for everyone, right? But when they go and recognize their block, the first thing is it's been kind of laying in their dormant, causing all this havoc, and they haven't really looked at it as an adult now. Yeah, I remember my mom saying to me if I go to college, and now I realize how silly that is. But then I thought, I don't want my husband to leave me because I'm successful. And I could tell you, when I would walk into a boardroom, and I used to commute, Dr. Pat, to Seattle from Los Angeles for 9 years for work. I worked for Food Services of America, the owners, right? And I would commute back and forth because I couldn't live there because it was never sunny. But when I would commute back and forth, I remember sitting at the boardroom, dumbing it up, like being brilliant in the thought that I have, and then dumbing it up so that I would have a voice, right? And they might take it seriously instead of speaking like I should speak. I would dummy it up. Or I had this trick that I used. I know that a lot of you women are using this, but I would make the man think it was his choice. You know what? Literally. And he'd be like, that is a great idea. I'm so glad you thought of that. You should tell them. Instead of me standing up for myself, I did that a million times. And they loved working with me because I gave them all these great ideas that they were taking away. But I dummied it up because I did not want to not have a great relationship.
Well, it does the work of 5 men. One woman. Yeah.
Hey, I had my granddaughter, bless her sweet little heart, saying, do you think we'll ever see a woman president? Why don't we have a woman president? I said, honey, a woman has put a president in every single office. They had a mother, a grandmother. They had a woman's influence raising them. Hopefully one day we will see a woman, but we've been there.
Well, yeah, and it's, that's so far in the United States. I mean, Great Britain's had
Yeah.
two female prime ministers in the last couple of decades. I mean, Pakistan of all places. I mean, one of the most least likely countries, they had a female prime minister. Israel did. I mean, Germany, one of the best leaders in Europe in years, Angela Merkel. And it's fascinating. One of my heroes, Nikola Tesla, in the 1920s, he was being interviewed, and he said that within the next century, there will be a shift, and the feminine gender will become the dominant gender. Now, of course, he was ridiculed, and oh, yeah, because, I mean, let's face it, the 1920s was the epitome of male dominance. But it's he was right about so many things, and we're now seeing so many women stepping forward, being heads of countries and CEOs, what do you think? Do you think there's going to be a female dominance, or do you think it's going to be more of an even balance between male and female? What's your take on that, Jana?
I really wish we couldn't see gender at all. We just put the right person in office and we took gender out of it. Having said that, that would open the doors for some women, because there are some women that are fit to be in office. I don't know if you guys have seen the video going around right now, President Ford doing he's doing a talk to children, and a young girl asked him, is there going to be a woman president? And he said, yes, but not the traditional way. I foresee, and this is years ago when he was president. Have you seen it?
Yeah. Yeah.
I foresee a woman being president, but it's not going to happen the traditional way. She's going to run for office on ticket with a president, a male president. He's going to die.
That's exactly. I knew you were going to say that, because everybody is looking at the administration now. And what's funny about this was, what was it, a week ago? President Biden referred to Kamala Harris as President Harris.
Yes. But it's sad that it has to happen that way. And I told my granddaughter, look, change comes slowly. We just are grateful when it comes, and we keep pushing for it, because change is good. And so if that's how change starts for us, then that's good.
There's a really good book that I got my hands on back in the early 90s. And I was at the end of a 24 and a half year career in what was once the phone company. And it was a fabulous book, and I was so excited about it. And I was in HR, so I could bring people in, right? I'm like, we brought in Gloria Steinem. She made all the executive and the board members sit on the floor. It was the best thing. But this book came out, and I don't think the author, Susan Faludi, wrote another book since. I'm trying to get her to interview her. 1991 or 90ish. The book is called Backlash, and it totally explains what we're talking about now. But I didn't get it then. I had to move on a few years to get it. But women must support women, as well as men supporting women and women supporting men. See that little thing right there? Don't you think, Jana? That's got to be the key.
Can I tell you that I feel like we're in a mindset when women are in any relationship, or they're working, we're competitors. We compete against other women when we shouldn't. We should be collaborating with them. We should be lifting each other. I just did this whole story about when you finally get where you're going, when you've worked really hard, you've paid your dues, your dream is right there. What's the first thing you do? You stop. You turn around, you help the next one through the door. Never forget how you got there. You didn't do it alone. I promise you may feel like you were alone, but there was many people involved in you getting where you're going. Even me going through my illness, there's doctors there, right? There's people encouraging me. There's tons of people moving you on. You need to turn around and help those others through the door. And women, we don't do this for each other. We compete. And I don't know where that mentality came from. When I would go into a boardroom, women competed with me and men put me in my place. Always.
Oh my gosh. Always. I know. In her book, there's a chapter, and it's called Backlashing, and it's the effects that she literally says this back then. She says the effects on women's minds, right? Jobs and bodies. And her first little chapter out of that section is it's all in your mind. And it was so hard for us to take in, because if you go back, it wasn't just in the minds, Mark. It was people that are telling, like, you go into a room, your boss is the director, and he's going to tell 5 dirty jokes with you in the room,
Yeah.
before he gets to the agenda. And I think we've made some progress there, but that's a great question, Mark.
Well, it is. And now my thought is it has a lot to do with how we're socialized. Men are socialized to work together in team sports and to act as a unit. Girls traditionally were taught like home economics. So you're the you're in control of your nest. And I went to this seminar one time, and the facilitator was explaining how men have this group mentality and a linear focus. Like we'll go out in caveman days and go hunt down a water buffalo as a team. Meanwhile, back at the cave, the woman is taking care of children, cooking, mending, doing all these things. It has a spherical attention span. And so women tend to be better multitaskers than men traditionally. And then now we're in an era where you're putting women who have been socialized to be the center of the universe, of their universe, and then put a bunch of them together, and all of a sudden those circles start intersecting, and that's where the competing begins. Men, we're used to working together. Yeah, we compete against each other very much so, but I've seen exactly what Jana's talking about, because in the practice of law and in the government agencies that I work for and other things, you get these very, talented women, and all of a sudden they're like attacking the other women instead of what you're saying, collaborating. But I think that this is starting to change. And I think that the legal profession, for all of its flaws and faults, is a good barometer of this. When I was in law school, 25 to 30% of the class was female. Now, 60% and more of graduating law school classes are female. We're seeing female judges. We're seeing female legislators, female law professors, and I'm aware of several law firms that all the attorneys are female. Now, 30 years ago, that would be unheard of. There would be a law firm, 10 attorneys, 9 of them were men, and the one female, well, she did family law. Okay. And now, you see women litigators in personal injury and corporate law. Right across the board. So I think that what Tesla was saying, and based on socialization, that's what it is. But and the sad part, or the unfortunate, I don't want to say sad, the unfortunate part is social change isn't rapid. It's going to take time, but it's happening. And both of you are pioneers in this.
Yeah. I'll tell you, for me, here's where the rubber meets the road. Jana, Mark, all of that's really interesting to me. 4 months ago, there was a bill in the United States Senate that passed the Congress to give women equal pay. See, to me, it's all about the rubber meeting the road, because I can't tell you how many speeches I've gotten about this, right? I still listen to them, but the rubber was meeting the road. A bill, Patty Murray, our little person, senator here, you got to love her, piled it together, put it on the Senate floor, passed the Congress. The vote was no. And the reason that was given by men, and I'm so glad you brought up the law thing, was that it would cause frivolous lawsuits. Now, I don't know about where you live, but getting equal pay is just not frivolous. And so, just like holistic living and holistic life, we have to educate ourselves, and then we have to take action, right? We have to look at what we're hearing and then ask ourselves, is that really it? Is there another way? Is there such a thing as plant-based medicine? Or maybe you go get some juniper. Please don't do anything that what I'm saying on the show. This is me. But we've made progress, and we're not done, right? And I think every one of us, men and women alike, are faced with challenges at so many aspects of life, so many walks of life. I've done more shows that people have asked me to speak about, because I did one show 5 months ago on transgender athletes in the Olympics. And nobody liked what I had to say because I asked the question, would we even be talking about this if they didn't have the ability to win? No. So what are we really talking about? You know, I want to ask you this because your magazine is open. People write about so many things to help people. You've got to be struggling with the same thing that I struggle with. And that is, how do we keep the conversations and the debates, just like the three of us right here are having? How do we keep that? Because I know today, if I say one word in this show, which I won't, it will get yanked from one of the social media channels immediately. How important is that for you, Jana? Is that for you, Mark, to make sure that we're keeping the channels of conversation open, even if we don't agree?
I think, and let me go first, and then Jana. I think the free marketplace of ideas is as American as apple pie, and there's so many things that you brought up. You know, why, in the philosophical sense, what gives men the right to determine what rights women have? What gives white people the right to determine, oh, well, blacks need to be able to vote? What gives heterosexual people the right to say that gay people should be treated equally? I mean, there's this ownership, antiquated, dating from the Roman Empire mentality that I think has outlived its usefulness. Now, I think me saying that, there may be listeners that are going to be really ticked about that. And if you are, oh, well. But the truth is, we are now in the 21st century. We are intelligent, educated, and we have the gift of being able to look back at thousands of years. And it's time to rewrite the rules where one group, white men, don't get to determine who gets a piece of the pie.
Don't you love, Jana, how we've like talked about so many things and look where we are today, right now?
I do. I literally want to just say something about what you just said. I think that we're living right now in a time where I can't turn the TV on or anywhere I go that people aren't screaming about their rights. They have the right to not wear a mask, a right to get vaccinated or not get vaccinated, a right to whatever their speech is, right? They have the rights. And you do. You absolutely have the right. You have the freedom of choice. You have the freedom of speech. You have the freedom to do all these things. But what we haven't been taught is that with every choice that we make with our freedoms come consequences, right? And we don't want to deal with those consequences. We want the freedom of not walking into a store with, I don't want to wear a mask. Great. The consequences, you can't come in our store. And that's fine. Don't wear a mask. But there are consequences and we want our freedoms with no consequences. And that is just not going to happen.
Yeah. And isn't that, though, the way of life, the way we're living it now? I mean, you're talking about something that goes back thousands and thousands of years. I mean, honestly, it's biblical. I mean, it's in every aspect of exchange that you can go back and first document in hieroglyphics about I give you, you give me. There's always this bubble of outcome, isn't there?
100%. There's a reaction and action, and there's action, reaction. So just know that you do have a right to say whatever you want, but no, there will be an effect. Like I've been wanting to print about vaccines in the magazine because I'm holistic. Having said that, I got vaccinated, but there are a lot of people who do not want to get vaccinated, but I haven't been able to write it because I don't want to put anyone in harm's way by writing it and then taking my article and doing something that could be harmful to them. So it's a really hard line because I understand the consequences of using your voice. Yeah.
And don't we have that in our responsibility? I'm a network owner. I struggle with that every day, you know, and yet at the same time, we have to look at ourselves and our soul because we know what's right for us. And, you know, that decision, you as an owner, you as the editor, it's not that simple and it's not that easy. And I think I love that we're talking about this because we're just not talking about this enough and how we feel and the decision-making process and what we think about, right? People only know the end game. Oh, she's for that and not for this. We're not having the conversations, are we? We're having them here, right, Mark?
Yes, we are. Well, that is the theme of the show. No topic is taboo. All subjects are on the table, and it's true. And it's very difficult when you bring these complex questions to the forefront, but we've got to ask them, because every journey begins with a question. Usually, I don't know. And if we don't know why this is happening, or we don't know why this hasn't changed, we have to ask it and then get on that journey. And that's what Best Holistic Life magazine does. And for the people who who don't subscribe but will, it's not a preachy magazine. It's an informative magazine. There's all types of articles in there. I mean, it's just downright fun. And there's even some really great recipes. I love them. Yeah, there are. I mean, I was going through the issue for Christmas, and it was like, oh my God, I gotta try to make some of this stuff. But the thing is, we have to ask these questions. We have to have these discussions. And that's the only way things are going to evolve and to change. And Jana, with 2022, it's all about you. What's your message? What is Jana Short's message for 2022?
So there's a secret in that. That's all about you. Everything. My message to you is everything you need to do anything you want in 2022, you already possess. It literally is between those two beautiful ears of yours. You create that change in your mind, and you are capable of doing anything.
Wow.
Beautiful, beautiful. So believing in yourself, having self-confidence, and not letting that voice tell you you can't.
100%. Shut that thing down.
Yeah, I know. I've had to clear a lot of bats out of that belfry up there.
Hey, I still do on a regular basis. Me too. Like, where'd that come from? No.
Yeah, I'm still thinking about your Harley now. Like at the end of the show, I can't get my mind off of the Harley Davidson you're not riding. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Would you again give out your website again and tell people how they can find out more about you?
Absolutely. You can get a free subscription at bestholisticlife.com. And if you want to learn more about me personally, you can go to janashort.com.
And Mark, what's your personal message for today? And how do people find out about you?
People can find out about me through my website, which is afterlifefrequency.com, which is the same as my new book, the afterlifefrequency.com. And the message that I have, the reason I'm here, is to help people understand that God exists, that the afterlife, heaven, nirvana, whatever you want to call it, exists, that our souls are immortal living spirits, that we can communicate with those souls, and that our loved ones, we will be reunited with them when it is our time to transition into the light. That's my message.
Thank you, Mark. I want to thank everybody out there, the best audience on the planet. Thank you so much. Jacob, thank you. Daniel, thank you. Rocky, thank you. And everybody out there, this year is about you. It's about the you that Jana just talked about. You really are all that. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time. Hey, everybody. Thank you for tuning into The Psychic and the Doc with Mark Anthony and me, Dr. Pat Baccili, right here on transformationtalkradio.com. Hey, look, come back next week so we can explore with you more of life's many challenges and learn from fascinating guests. And you know what? Even Mark and me. We'll connect you and discover insights from people in this life and from the afterlife. Extraordinary problems? Yeah, they do. They require extraordinary solutions. But step into the world of possibilities with us on The Psychic and the Doc. That's every Thursday, 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time, right here on transformationtalkradio.com. That's transformationtalkradio.com. And don't forget, we're also live face-to-face on facebook.com, Transformation Talk Radio.